This NHTS Academy module is going to look at vehicle occupancy in the NHTS. First off, we'll discuss what is vehicle occupancy. Then we'll look at why researchers study it. Next, we'll take a look at the standard way to compute it using NHTS. And finally, we'll look at an example, vehicle occupancy numbers by trip purpose. So what is vehicle occupancy? Vehicle occupancy is the count of how many people are in a vehicle on a given trip. When we measure it, we generally talk about average occupancy, although the distribution of trips by number of vehicle occupants is looked at as well. Why do researchers study vehicle occupancy? Among many reasons, congestion can be helped through carpooling. Also, researchers are concerned with vehicle occupancy in their forecasting models, as well as to measure energy consumption and environmental impacts of travel. Finally, occupancy measures can assist transportation planners strategically place HOV lanes on highways. The default method of measuring occupancy using NHTS is informally referred to as the mileage method, and it uses a weighted average of the reported number of people on a given trip found in the num-on-trip variable in the NHTS. We use that measure because it includes both household members who were interviewed for the NHTS survey as well as non-household members. We know numerous trips are made with both household and non-household occupants of the vehicle, and we want to make sure we include everyone. The weight used for this method is comprised of the trip weight multiplied by the number of miles for a given trip. So ultimately, this method is computed by taking the sum of num-on-trip times the trip weight times the miles per trip and dividing by the sum of the trip weight times miles per trip. This method is used on the NHTS website Table Designer, as well as publications like the Summary of Travel Trends, and was adopted in the 1970s when oil embargoes became a dominant issue. Since energy consumption is still an issue, we continue to use that method. So now that we've looked at how we can get occupancy numbers from the NHTS, let's look at those numbers by trip purpose. We can see that the average trip had 1.7 occupants in 2009. When we look at things by purpose, we see social and recreational trips having the highest occupancy rates and work trips having the lowest. So let's look at a couple of vehicle occupancy distributions by purpose. Here you can see that about 90% of trips to or from work were taken by a single person. But that's not the case for social recreational trips. Here you can see that about half are taken by a single person, while around a third are taken by two people, with the rest taken by three or more. Now there is another way of computing vehicle occupancy, what we refer to as the trip method, and it's the method traditionally used by transportation planners and in travel demand models. This method simply counts the trip and does not take trip length into account. To compute this method, you would just take num-on-trip times the trip weight and divide by the trip weight. So let's look at how the results differ. Here you can see occupancy numbers as we presented earlier from the method that includes trip length. And beside them, you can see the results from the trip method. The trip method is generally lower for most purposes, since longer trips tend to have more persons traveling. The exception is work trips, which, as we saw earlier, are taken with a single person 90% of the time, so the inclusion of mileage does not make a difference. We hope you've enjoyed our look at vehicle occupancy and the NHTS. Thanks for watching.